Did you know Ingles only sells USDA choice and prime cuts of meat? Maybe it's time to reward yourself. Our butchers cut all our meat fresh in the store every day. Grass-fed, organic, you name it. Not only that, we'll even cut it to order just the way you like it. And we grind meat fresh in the store multiple times a day. It's all in the bag. That's the best meat in town for the best folks in town. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Hey everybody, heading into week 5 of the college football season, back at you with the Gramlich and Lain podcast. That's EMAC. I'm Taylor Tannenbaum. This is, I believe, my finale of filling in for R. Kelly Gramlich. Sad, but
mixed emotions. Obviously, I'm sad that I'm losing you, but I'm very happy I get my girl back.
Me too.
And it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I've been missing her. I've tried to give her space, and I don't want to like blow up her phone or whatever. But these last couple of days, I've been texting her like, "Hey, big head, you up?"
No, literally.
And she's locked in. She's
probably sick of me by now because I respond to every story on Instagram. She posts about her babies, but you know, it is what it is.
That's right.
Mitch is getting a nice appearance for the finale here.
As he should.
It's rainy days all across the Eastern Seaboard right now as we get ready for this college football weekend, which inevitably means there will be lightning delays.
Can't wait. That's just what we're used to doing. Hopefully it won't be on the ACC network game, and it can be anywhere else. That's fine. Don't care.
Maybe on any other ESPN network.
Exactly. Don't need it up in New York. Hey, actually, we're good because that game is inside in a dome. We are fine. We're good.
You're right. The noon game. You're right. At Syracuse. We love a dome. Shout out to Central New York. All right. So this weekend in the ACC, 7 games on the docket. Now we're getting into conference play. So we have 4 of our main teams or bigger teams have buys this week. You have Clemson, Miami, SMU, and North Carolina. They're all off this week. So we don't necessarily need to talk about them a ton today, but 6 conference games, 7 games in general. Let's start with the biggest one of the weekend, which just so happens to be the first one because it's on Friday night, Scott Stadium in Charlottesville. It is the 30th anniversary, by the way, of a big upset. Virginia knocking off, at that time, number 2 Florida State, snapping their unblemished 29-0 ACC conference record. All right, so now you have an 8th-ranked Florida State heading to take on a Virginia team that is good. I'll just say that they're explosive offensively. The defense, maybe we're not talking about them enough because the offense has caught everybody's attention with Chandler Morris really running the show over there. But you tell the people the line in this one, Emac, and explain how you feel about it because it's interesting.
It really is. It really is. If you guys keep seeing me look down to the right, Amelia Rose is like trying to climb out of her crib.
It's gonna happen,
and she's
maybe
freaking me out. This will be y'all might see my reaction live. This will be the first time she's ever done it. I'm actually going to talk to her real quick. This is going to scare her. Amelia, lay down. There she goes. Snaps down quick. Scares her. Scares the fire out of her. Mitch, I'm sorry. It wasn't for you.
No, he just said, lay down. I will.
Sorry, Mitchie.
Did she
She's
lay
terrified.
down?
She's not. Oh, yeah. Quick. She's going to be terrified to go sleep now. Sorry you guys had to watch that. That's parenting in real life there. But the line is 6.5. I don't know how I feel about that. Listen, let's give respect to Virginia. Let's start with them because offense has been sick. 5th offense, best in the country in regards to yards per game. They are rolling. They are moving that football through the air, on the ground. Really impressed with what I've seen. And listen, they've had, a good running game for quite some time now, since Coach Elliott has been there. They've had pieces and some really good running backs. They have not had a quarterback like this. They haven't had a guy that can orchestrate the offense, who is old, he's a veteran, knows what to do with the football, and can be really dynamic with his legs. I mean, you got to go back to, 2019, 2020, when they had something, Brendan Armstrong and the things that he did, Bryce Perkins, obviously before that. So this team's feeling good, and they got their best defensive player back a week ago, and he looked great, led the team in tackles, and so now they're up to a really big challenge here. Now, with all of that said, these Noles are playing out of their mind. They just housed Alabama. They have been knocking, and I get it. I know who they've played these last couple of weeks, but they're airing them out. They have the biggest margin of victory, in the last 2 games of anybody in the country, and so it's not, this team that I think is going to play around. Now, you can say trap game, Miami's on the horizon, Friday night, spooky, who knows what, the scene is going to look like in Charlottesville in regards to how many people are in the stadium. But I think they more than deserve your attention. And Florida State better be ready, because if not, then who knows? Maybe this line is right and it could get weird in a hurry.
Yeah, no, to your point with the point differential, FBS leading 48 points per game differential this season, best through 3 games since 2012 when EJ Manuel was the quarterback of Florida
Oh,
State.
Big E.
And then to double down on that, 3 straight double-digit wins to start the season, tied for the longest streak since 2013, the year they went undefeated and won
Bad
13
year.
straight by double digits and ultimately won a national championship. Like, that is the air that this offense right now for Florida State is currently in. And for me, for Florida State, and the matchup that I'm going to be watching in this game is how Virginia's defense holds up against Florida State's run game. It's been very dynamic, and certainly when you have a quarterback for Florida State and Tommy Castellanos, that's what makes him so good and so potent, is the fact that he can use his arm, but you got to pay attention to what he can do with his legs. He's a dual threat kind of guy. But they've had at least 200 yards rushing and 4 rushing touchdowns in all 3 of their games this season. That's crazy. And I know they've played East Texas A&M and they've played Kent State, but they've also played the University of Alabama, who looks a lot better than they did that opening week. So that's what I'm going to be watching. And Virginia's done a pretty good job defensively. I don't think we've talked about it enough. I said it off the top. Having Cam Robinson, their star linebacker, back is certainly going to help that cause. And he's going to be hungry. And I've been really impressed, too, with the secondary of Virginia, just to double down on the defense. Tony Elliott went into the portal this offseason and knew that they had to find some guys in that area. It's nearly entirely revamped. Devin Neal is a 6th-year guy from Louisville. Jordan Robinson comes over from Cincinnati. Donovan Platt from Army. You have Christian Charles from Tennessee. Big-time programs and experienced dudes. And they're making a name for themselves at Virginia. But that's the matchup I'm watching, is how this Florida State potent run game, they racked up 8 rushing touchdowns last week against Kent State, fares against a Virginia front 7.
I'm right there with you. And I think the interesting part, because that matchup is for sure what I'm kind of staring down and seeing, how are you going to play it, Virginia? Okay. Can you load up the box? Can you spy, Tommy, and then B, load up the box and try to try to limit the run and force Florida State to throw the football? Not saying that they can't, but have we seen it where they had to do it? Can they do it? Not yet, because they've ran on everybody. They haven't needed to. And so that's kind of what I would go into this game thinking, is I'm not going to lose to the fastball. If I lose to the curveball or, plan B, whatever you got, fine. But I don't want to lose to that and to the known commodity of what you really want to do. So what does that look like? How do they do that? Is it different personnel? Do they even go to like a bare front and try to just have it single blocked up, to where then your linebackers can go across? I can't wait to see it. And it's going to be an interesting matchup, how they try to do that, what they try to present, for Florida State. And then on the other side of that, Tommy, can you throw the ball, as effectively as you might need to, not just sit back, 1, 2, 3, drop back, throw it as far as you can, which is awesome. And that's cool. And you need that, but can you go through your progressions? Can you go through your reads? Can they roll you out, get you in space, allow you to go high, low reads, or, to the low man, to the, mid man, and then the back post or something of that nature? That's what I'm just ready to see, this next step, of the Florida State evolution. And with all that said, we might not see it. Florida State might run all over these dudes. Who knows?
Right.
But I do think that that's the biggest matchup, the biggest focal point, just because it is such a strength, for the Noles. And it's a strength for Virginia too. Listen, they can run the ball really
They're
effectively.
second in the
second in the
ACC
league.
rushing.
Second in the league. And they haven't done it as chunky. It hasn't been these big, huge plays. They've been really consistent with how they run the ball. Florida State, they've given it. They just see it. Those guys are gone. Virginia earned it a little bit more from play to play there. And so what's their attack? For me, when you have a mobile quarterback, like, try to get him in space, try to get these guys going side to side. And then can you sneak something behind them if I'm Virginia and try to hit a big play over the top? So this, as I'm talking about it more, I'm talking myself into this could be a really fun, fun matchup here. But I just, in the back of my mind, I think these are different Noles. I think it's a different team that understands, what's at stake and what they're going to be able to try to accomplish this year.
Yeah, I agree. And we've noted that over the last couple of weeks, like the lack of leadership last year and accountability within the locker room felt very present. Doesn't feel that way this year. Feels like a different dynamic, that there are clear-cut leaders, that there are people taking accountability if something doesn't go right. They haven't had a ton of that so far this season. And I would assume that coming into this game, those leaders are making people accountable. Hey, don't overlook Virginia. We have Miami next week, but that's next week. Miami doesn't matter as much if we lose to Virginia this week, right? It's not as big of a game. Focus on the task at hand. And I think that that's a good thing. But I would also argue, seeing is believing, and Virginia's seen some really good things that they've done this season. And I'm sure Tony Elliott's in that room preaching, why not us? Why not us this year? I'm showing you what happened 30 years ago, because people thought that wasn't possible when they were the second-ranked team in the country and on a 29-game ACC win streak. Why not us at home? And to be fair, the last time Florida State went to Scott Stadium, 2019, they took an L. Different era for both of these teams. But I am excited for the chess match. Some great offensive minds on both sides. Tony Elliott, what he's been able to do there at Virginia, and as Kitchings, and then Gus Malzahn on the other side with the chess pieces he has.
Yeah, it is going to be fun. And again, I think when you look at this Virginia team, could easily be undefeated. I mean, they lost on, basically the last play of the game, and Chandler just missed a guy. He had a guy open. I mean, they could have scored and won, but he kind of tried to fit it in another window. It got picked. Big shout out to NC State making that happen. But they could easily be 4-0 right now. And is this maybe a match, a ranked matchup that we're looking here? So yeah, it is going to be fascinating just to see, and I'm excited to see it. How are you feeling? I think I know which way you're feeling, but 6.5, you feeling spicy? You feeling like the Wahoos can play around?
Look, I love Virginia, and this is not a biased pick at all. I have all the respect in the world for the Hoos, and I want them to do well because I just think he's a great guy, Tony Elliott, and I really like the team they've put together, and I think they can do some damage this year. But I'm going to go Florida State. And I wouldn't be surprised if it is a one-score game in the third quarter. But I would expect between the offense and the defense, Florida State's only allowed 10 points per game this season defensively. I would expect in the end, maybe it's a 14, 17-point difference.
I think you're not too far off there, and maybe I'm even more confident. Maybe that's foolish. I don't know, because you're right. I do respect Virginia. I love Virginia, but I just think this is a much better team in Florida State, and they're loaded, and that's the way that they've looked. So I'm thinking like 49-10.
See that? I mean that's entirely possible. It's entirely possible.
It is. Clip this and tell me how dumb I am when it doesn't happen. That's the type of thing. But I'm taking I think I'm for sure taking Florida State, and I think I'll take the under too. 60.5 is the total.
I'm going under too.
I think I'll take the under. I don't know about that. I think so too. I think so too. Because Florida State's, we'll see. Who knows? I'm gonna stop boosting them up and then they get smacked. That would be the ACC thing to happen. Let me say that. Just get that out of the way. The ACC thing to happen is that Virginia beats these boys, and I will be sick. I will throw up. Anyway.
No question. No question. Because we are set up if they win, and this is just like the TV people in us, we are set up for a top 10, potentially top 5 showdown next week in Tallahassee because Miami's off. They're not playing. They're not a liability to lose this week. So we'll see what happens. But if Virginia pulls this one off, this would be a program moving win for them. No question about it. No question about it.
I will be sick.
All right. And we're going to move on. I'm excited that it's Friday night. It gives us something to do and something to talk about Saturday morning.
Yeah. Speaking of, you got dinner reservations ready yet?
You're putting me on that again?
Yeah.
Tell the people how you felt about my dinner reservation.
It was great. It was good.
Oh, okay.
I liked it. Yeah.
Fine. Yeah. Here's the problem. Here's why, you guys, I can't do the dinner reservations is because I invite everybody and then it ends up being like 16 people. And
we had a table for 20. That's what we did. I was like, who did you invite?
Everybody.
Yeah. Taylor sees people walking down the street. Hey, you want to come to dinner with us? Come on. It'll be great.
And then everyone's like, who's going to dinner? I'm like, just show up.
Who's not going to dinner is the better question.
You'll find out when we get there. I will get on that. I did get some recommendations from Dave Clausen, by the way.
Good. Shout out Coach Clausen.
Shout out Coach Clausen, who obviously knows Winston-Salem very well. That's where we're heading, and that's the game we're going to talk about next, because you have 16th ranked Georgia Tech. They've moved up 2 spots this week, taking on Wake Forest, who is coming off of a bye week. And the Jake Dickert era has been solid so far. They played NC State pretty tough until State ran away with it in the end. But you got a Jackets team undefeated, 4-0, coming into Winston-Salem. And in this one, you would think the Jackets obviously have a big advantage, but I think in the run game, that's where it lies for them too. I'm going to keep talking about that, and you as an offensive lineman probably love that. But I think that's going to be the key to Wake Forest. How do you treat this Georgia Tech run game? And if you can slow it down, maybe there's a chance.
Yeah. That's the thing with these guys. And listen, we've seen Georgia Tech be a little turnover prone, right? We've seen them give up the football early in the season, with silly stuff and random stuff that, even their head coach admittedly says, like, what is happening? Like, what are y'all doing? Please stop. And looking at these guys, the way that they do it. But I think that is kind of the ticket. And how can you slow that down? Is it loading the box? Is it blitzing with exotic things? Is it trying to, confuse the way that they target, things as an offensive line and as a quarterback identifying the mic? Because if you can cause chaos and cause confusion, then maybe you have a chance for tackles for loss. And, if you're able to get your hands on the football, we know that is the greatest equalizer. That is the way that you can make anything happen. And there's probably a little bit of weather coming, so running the football is probably going to be the main thing, but it's turf. It's a little slippery. That ball, starts moving. Who knows what happens? So how are you able, Wake Forest, to force the issue, with that? And then on the reverse side of it, your offense, use your big, quarterback Ashford and obviously one of the most talented running backs in the entire country in Claiborne. And let's go. Like, let's find the way to give those guys a lot of touches to run the ball effectively, shorten this game, like make every single possession vital. Like that's the kind of thing what Georgia Tech likes to do.
Right.
With all that said, I do think Georgia Tech is significantly the better team. I think
Yes.
they are loaded. I think they have a big, nasty offensive line, a defense that, is playing sporadically well, inconsistently well. They need to turn it up a little bit there in different pieces, but I have no doubt that they can do that.
Mhm.
And then you've got, one of the most fierce competitors in the country, in the conference specifically, with Haynes King. So how do they do that? How do they continue what they're doing and just grinding? The interesting thing with GT Tay is you're no longer the hunter, you're the hunted. Like, people are looking at you, you got that nice number beside your name. You're, expected to win. FPI has them at 84%. It's a 16. It's moved. It's a 13.5 spread right now. So there's that expectation. How are you going to deal with, that expectation and everybody telling you how good you are, where for years and maybe your career at Georgia Tech, they've told you you're the underdog and you can't do it. So that is a different mindset. And, I'm excited to see how do they handle that and how do they, get comfortable in that space.
Right. And on the flip side of that, what does Wake Forest have to lose? They're trying to build something under Jake Dicker, which, he's pretty passionate. He's going to have these guys fired up. But you're right. I actually liked the way Georgia Tech handled even a little bit of adversity against Temple. Like, coming off of that Clemson game, you're playing a Temple team that just got blasted by Oklahoma. It got to a point where they jumped out to a 21-0 lead, Georgia Tech did, and then, Temple worked their way back in the third quarter for it to be a one-score game, and then Georgia Tech, like they do in fourth quarters, closed the game and made it a double-digit win. And ultimately, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't pretty. Coach Key said it after the game, like, look, we're happy, but there's a lot to clean up. I thought that was a good indicator that this team has taken a step in maturity and handling success that they have up until this point. But again, we'll see what happens. And obviously the big key in this game is like health, really. And most important players on both teams are the guys who tote the rock. And on one side, it's Haynes King, your quarterback. Sure, obviously passing, and he was nice against Temple last week, but keeping him healthy when he's running the football is key. And then Damon Claiborne has battled injuries at times this season for Wake Forest. They're running back. And, I haven't seen Robbie Ashford have to go out there and win a ball game with his arm.
Right.
That's for sure. So, you're watching those two things for this team who like to run the football. Health is the key. So,
Yeah.
if this is going to be a fourth quarter game, I like Georgia Tech because if anyone's going to take this for 60 minutes, it's going to be the Jackets, and Wake Forest still has a little bit to prove in that department.
Sure. And it's who they are. It's what they do. If it gets to that point and you mentioned, Robbie doing it with his arm, I don't know if that's the blueprint. I think, with his legs, he's a big, strong guy, let that dual threat, extra hat, extra blocker that you can get in there. Let that be the piece, really of it. And, is it a special teams play? Is it a big turnover? Something, in favor for your team, Wake, can you make happen? And then can you capitalize? Can you
Well,
jump out, have them face adversity? What can they do? Type of thing there.
if you're going to say the word capitalize, I thought this was an interesting stat. They're 131st in FBS in red zone touchdown percentage. Wake Forest is. So against a team like Georgia Tech that will inevitably find the end zone, you got to be scoring 7. When you get there, you've got to punch it in. Threes aren't going to necessarily win you this game. So with that being said, I'm going to lean Georgia Tech in this one. You said what is 13.5 now?
13 and a half.
I'll take
Feel good
Georgia.
about that? I think that the red zone thing, like, it's got to be a mentality now, especially in this game. Like, if you get into that situation and let's say it's 3rd and 6, and you're on the 8-yard line where you can still get a first down or you're even closer, don't necessarily, if you're thinking, hey, we need 2 here as a quarterback, if it breaks down and nothing's there, try to get half. You don't have to go for it. Don't make a bad play worse. Try to get half or live to fight another day. I think some people, when it gets down there to the red zone, things speed up. Everything's faster. Everything's closer. There's not as much room. And so things are happening really fast. So how can you process that and just say, okay, can I make it half? Okay, no. Okay, don't make it worse. Throw it away. Don't go backwards. Don't try to do something
Right.
silly there. But I'm right there with you. I think the Jackets roll. I think they're excited about this. I think the weather favors them, just to ground and pound and be that team that can, smash you up front. So give me the Jackets as well.
Okay, well, I will leave Wake Forest fans, if you are listening to this with a feel good, is that they are coming off of a bye. So you have a little bit more time to prepare for a different Georgia Tech offense. What did he say? There 36 flavors of counter.
It's coming.
That's what.
Counter's
Yeah,
coming.
you know
Get
what
ready.
you're gonna get. So they've had a little bit more time to practice what they are inevitably going to be seeing.
Rollback just dropped their licensed game day collection. Polos, hoodies, Q-zips. Custom designed for your school. On game days, we wear rollback, period.
Okay, we already mentioned it out off the top. To the Dome we go in Central New York. Actually, we're not going, but the Duke Blue Devils are. They might already know. It's still Thursday. Don't know what day
They
it is.
probably leave tomorrow.
Have no clue. But they are making the trip up to Syracuse, New York. Both of these teams feeling pretty good right now because Duke snapped their little losing streak against NC State last week, and then Syracuse going down to Death Valley, fighting their way toward a dominant win over Clemson. All right, so now how do both teams respond? I think this is actually a very interesting matchup. 2 of the head coaches in this league that have done a lot with what they've been presented with at their particular programs. Manny Diaz at Duke and Fran Brown at Syracuse. And last year and this year are making them contenders and relevant.
Yeah, it's a great point. I love that you brought that up because they're doing the absolute most with less, right? And
Yes.
and they're killing it, and it's fun to watch. And obviously, a Syracuse team that won 10 games last year, a Duke team that won 9, both presented and got themselves in really nice situations here. And yeah, huge credit to both these teams winning the way that they did. A week ago, Syracuse, I mean, just domination. There's no other way to say it. And listen, we talked about it, gave them credit, gave them their flowers. That was, I say special. It wasn't special for me. It hurt. Okay. But it was special what they were able to do and how they were able to do it. I mean, it was fantastic and something we hadn't seen from them all year in regards to, running the football. You go back and watch those first couple of plays. I mean, they're blowing Clemson's defensive line off the line of scrimmage. I mean, it was really impressive. Again, not to me. It was very sad, but very impressive that they were able to do that. Steve Angeli goes down. Who are you going to be moving forward? Obviously he was leading the country in passing. Like, he was balling. He was playing at a very, very high level, but it was, quote unquote, we'll see how much truth there is to that as the rest of the season goes on, a QB battle leading all the way to week 1. And Ricky Collins now getting that opportunity and was the guy all spring. So he's had reps. He has familiarity with his team and with these receivers. It's not like it's some guy that they don't know. In regards to if the roles were switched, where he was the guy that came in post spring. So I think there's something to that. And Obviously that's never the way you want to get a job, but it's a way you can get a job. It's the way Tom Brady got a job. And, can you capitalize on this opportunity? Can you throw the ball to these very talented, wide receivers and get them going? And then just, how much can the run game continue to support? How much can the run game, be like it was versus Clemson? Because that will be dynamic for these guys, the rest of the way if they're able to do that. So that's kind of my biggest question mark, starting with Syracuse. How much is the offense altered with Ricky Collins versus what we've seen for 3.5 games with Steve Angeli?
That is a great point. And to that point, both teams get over 70% of their total yards passing. Duke 72%, Syracuse 75%. So that will be maybe potentially altered for Syracuse without Steve Angeli, who, as you noted, was leading the country in passing. And then for Duke, we know they have a gunslinger in Darian Mensah. If they're not turning the ball over and doing silly things to get penalties to extend drives for the other team, then they can be a really potent offense and a solid defense. So that's what I'm looking at for Syracuse. I feel like their offensive coordinator and Jeff Nixon, look, in every game since he's gotten to Syracuse, okay, started 2014. They had Kyle McCord last year, and they had Steve Angeli this year. They've thrown for no less than 250 yards every single game. I anticipate he will put Ricky Collins in position to do just that with, as you noted, the playmakers that they have. And to Syracuse's benefit, Duke's pass defense has been really bad.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's a way to take advantage of that. Or is it going to be more ground and pound? And can Duke's front seven and VJ Anthony and Chandler Rivers and, the Trey Freeman and the linebackers they have make them more of a one-dimensional team in this game and force Ricky Collins to throw? It's going to be interesting because I don't know that we know this version of Syracuse right now.
Right.
It'd be easier to talk about a Steve Angeli
Correct.
game, but I think their offensive coordinator and Nixon will put together a good game plan because it hasn't mattered who the quarterback's been. They've all had some kind of talent, and he's gotten the best out of them so far. So,
and you mentioned, that lackluster, not up to the standard Duke defense for the majority of the year, specifically in the pass defense. Is that good for him? Does that ease him in a little bit? Now, what will be typical is those guys play out of their mind like they did a week ago against NC State, and we are saying all this for naught. But I think there is something to the unknown where we're not sure what it's going to look like. You have a great back behind you, a couple of great backs behind you. Lean on them, offensive line, keep it going. Let's go forward. Kind of do our thing there. And the interesting thing is both of these teams are so pass heavy, but a week ago they both ran the ball so well. So it's like, are we seeing these teams evolve live time and find more comfort in balance, which we always know is vital and key here. But I am interested. And you're at home, you're in the Dome, got sold a good out. Duke team, sold out. You've got an undefeated in ACC play Duke team coming up here, who's coming off a really big win against their rival, feeling really good. And of course, is what it is. Clemson's down, but you conquered that mountain. You're feeling really good. But how can you not allow that to just define your seat? Like, there's way more than that. There's way more than that. Let's not be satisfied. Let's keep the pedal to the metal. But I am interested to see what this Cuse team looks like without Angeli.
Yep, me too. I know. And what's the points in this game?
5.5. Listen to this. This is where things get so interesting because Duke was favored last week, and I thought it was crazy. They're favored this week again, 5.5. But ESPN FBI has Syracuse 63% chance of winning the game. So that's like two polar opposites. Very strange. With that, I let you make your choice.
So it's Duke.
Duke is favored by Vegas. Cuse favored heavily by FPI.
I think Syracuse finds a way with Ricky Collins.
Do they? Okay.
Give me the orange.
Yeah. I like that. That's where I'm going too. I didn't think you were going to do that. That's where I'm going too. I thought we would be split there, but I picked against Duke last week and they made me look foolish. They won by double digits. So maybe Duke's onto something. Maybe I'm the ticket. Like if I pick against Duke, they'll win. But I did that against Illinois and you got aired out. So that's not
maybe.
true.
What we do know though is they have two great passing attacks with some skill players and both defenses have been suspect. So
True.
Maybe it's going to be a fun one in the Dome.
A lot of points.
Yeah, that's
total 61.5. You thinking over?
I might.
That would be awesome.
Yes,
That's
because
my type of game. Come
if
on.
we're going based on what we've learned up until this point,
Yeah,
defense has not been the strong suit for either one of these teams.
I'm in. I like that action.
Let's go. All right, we are going to move on. What's our next game? Louisville at Pitt. This actually has some intrigue to it because you have some running backs in this game that are legit, but there's a big question mark next to all of their names. On the Pitt side of things, because they are the home team, Desmond Reed hurt himself in the backyard brawl, lower leg injury, didn't finish the game. Pitt ultimately lost that. They've had a bye week. Don't know his status. Pat Narduzzi's never going to tell you that before a game. We are going to get injury reports. That's awesome. Great. On the Louisville side of things, Jeff Brom has been honest about Isaac Brown and Duke Watson. Duke Watson did not even play a single down against Bowling Green this last weekend, but those are their starting 2 running backs dealing with lower leg injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm eyeballing heading into this game because both of these offenses, their run game is very important to them. We haven't even seen Des Reed really go off yet for Pitt this season. I think he only has like 1 rushing touchdown, which is really strange. And Louisville, I don't think we've seen some of Miller Moss, and he was solid against Bowling Green, but we haven't seen the best out of that passing game. So to me, the ground game's the key once again in this game too.
That's kind of what I'm wondering and thinking. And Isaac Brown only had 1 carry last week, and so what is he going to be available? He's such a big piece of this offense. What is that going to look like for everybody? All those backs. Kind of involved here. And same thing with Miller. It's an interesting thing. He has 2 passing touchdowns on the season. We're going into week 5 here. Let's go. Let's get it rolling. Let's pass the ball. It's been super weird just to see because I had really high, expectations for this Louisville offense and thinking what it could be with the, skill players surrounding them, obviously the great backs. And then you had Miller, who we thought was going to get the best out of his career, with Coach Brom here, and that just hasn't been the case yet. He looked a little bit more efficient, but it's Bowling Green. Like, I don't care.
Right. That's what
I need to see it against Pittsburgh, who has dogs on the other side, who has Kyle Lewis, who's looking to annihilate you. The Sharks, like everybody in that linebacking core, is trying to come after you and to hurt you, quite frankly. So, we'll see what it looks like. I could see this being ugly, low-scoring defenses kind of having their way, some turnovers, some weird turnovers, and just not having your star running backs on either side. That makes it weird. So I don't know. I don't feel great about this game. And it's, 57.5 is the number. I'm thinking under that. I think it's just gonna be an ugly game. I think it's gonna be an ugly
under.
game.
These 2 defenses, Pitt and Louisville, lead the country in pressure rate. Like to that point, like these defenses
Guys teeing off.
The reason these teams have seen the success so far this season hasn't necessarily been their offenses. It's been their defense. And honestly, last week for Louisville, they kicked 4 field goals against Bowling Green. Special teams, Colin Lacey had a big punt return for a touchdown after he fumbled a return earlier in the game. So, it hasn't necessarily been on the shoulders of these offenses. Their defenses and their special teams units have been doing their thing.
Which I don't think makes you feel better, about it, especially, having to score.
Do have some good returners in this game, Kenny.
Yeah, but scoring 19 points on special teams to win a game against Bowling Green's like, don't feel super good about that. So we'll see. Line's 4.5 in favor of the Cards. I think I like the Pitt defense better. I think, just the way that they're playing, being at home. Give me the Panthers here. I like the Panthers winning this game.
Damn, I hate that we keep sweeping, but me too.
We've been around each other too long. We gotta take a break.
I know that, but they have got the home field advantage. I don't know what kind of advantage that will be, but I'll lean Pitt if it's going to be that close. And if we're rocking with defenses, love what Louisville's doing, but I'll go Pitt defense, Randy Bates and go.
Yeah, and Louisville a week ago lost their best defensive player. So I mean, there's a lot of uncertainties on the Louisville side that are starting to stack up a little bit here, and who knows? We'll see what happens. I mean, Pitt did not listen. The last time we saw them, they did not look good against a very bad West Virginia team. I get it's a rivalry game and whatever, but they gave that game away, and that was frustrating as all get out.
Yeah.
But I still like the defense. I think they bounce back and get this stuff. But I think it's gonna be ugly. I think it's gonna be a horrific game.
Yeah. We just go from talking about what we're going to be seeing between Syracuse and Duke, which could be fireworks offensively. And then, but hey, you know what? Sometimes I like watching Good defense, and I enjoy watching Kyle Lewis play. I enjoy watching this Louisville defense. Yeah, you're like, yeah, whatever. I do. Look, I was a cornerback in high school.
That's
I'm
right.
obviously
That's right. You're about it. You're
a
about it.
clean defensive player on the desk. You know what I mean?
Facts. Facts.
Um, I'm gonna move on to NC State and Virginia Tech.
I like it. I like it.
This one is in Raleigh, and there are some storylines here. NC State's the home team. Virginia Tech, we'll clap it up for Virginia Tech. They did pick up their first win of the season last week against Wofford. Listen, they just needed to get into the win column. Interim head coach Philip Montgomery, there's a lot going on in Blacksburg that has absolutely nothing to do with X's and O's on a football field. And they went out there and took care of business. So credit to the coaching staff who held it together last week. Credit to these players who clearly put their blinders on and went out there and did their thing. Didn't just hop in the portal right away and say, I'm out of here. They had something to prove, and I think that is a good sign for Hokie football. On the NC State side of things, I have a feeling they're going to be hungry this week, considering we're going to talk hungry. They had a silver platter, and they put a W on the silver platter and said, here you go, Duke. We're going to hand you this win, because it was as big of a disaster as it potentially could have been for State last week against Duke. Not only did they outgain the Blue Devils, they ran for 171 yards. Hollywood Smothers continues to dominate. But CJ Bailey uncharacteristically had 3 interceptions, a fumble, 4 total turnovers. Duke had 0. State also had a blocked field goal, a turnover on downs. Like, it was just anything that could go wrong did go wrong. So for them, it's a bounce back game. For Virginia Tech, it's let's keep this thing pushing. Again, another team that doesn't have anything to lose, but I guess everything in conference play is still ahead of them. They've yet to play a conference game.
Right, right. Which is a big deal, and being able to accomplish your goals and things of that nature, and you're undefeated in the Montgomery era. Let's go, baby. We're rolling. We're rolling. But I think going back to NC State, what you said, that it's so true, and it's so frustrating because you're looking at it, and really, you have the 4 real turnovers, then you got a turnover on downs 5, then you got the blocked field goal 6. So it's impossible to beat a conference team, a conference opponent, giving them 6 extra chances, and a very capable offense as Duke, and giving them those extra possessions. That's just you're not going to win. You're not going to do that. So like you said, very uncharacteristic. Hadn't seen that before. And quite frankly, Duke hadn't played that well defensively. So that was kind of a lightning in a bottle potential game for both of those teams. Unfortunate that it had to happen that way. And then, Virginia Tech, listen, I wasn't joking when I said I don't know if they could beat Wofford. I mean, they just had not looked good at all. Go out and have a big statement win by 32. Great. Cameron Drones, 300 plus total yards, 4 total touchdowns. Confidence booster. Like, let's go. Let's get going. You've got a lot of guys that this is the last chance that they're going to wear a collegiate helmet, a bunch of seniors, and let's make it happen, and let's figure it out. Can that, unfortunate situation of firing a head coach be a galvanizing moment that wakes this team up and gets them going in the right direction here? Now, is that likely? You still got the same players, that you look so bad against the first couple of weeks here. We'll see. And I do love CJ Bailey. I mean, I think he has, potential superstar written all over him. I think they bounce back here to get this dub. NC State favored by 10.5 points at home. Which I think that's respectable. I think that's kind of where this game is.
Yeah.
With that in mind, I think give me the Wolfpack. I think they roll. I think they get back to what we've seen, and running the football with Hollywood. Praise the Lord. I pray for it for years. We got it. We're doing it.
I'm again, we're in alignment, me and you.
So there we go.
One State too, and it's not because of anything other than I think NC State's just in a different place right now than Virginia Tech, and with the run game. I don't know that this Virginia Tech team can stop a nosebleed right now. They're 16th in the ACC, allowing nearly 158 yards on the ground, and Hollywood Smothers is in a rhythm. This offense has figured it out. Even though they took an L last week, they were still able to run the football very effectively. So, and I know Philip Montgomery this week said, like, if Hollywood Smothers isn't the best back in the country, then he's one of them. If he's not the best, he's one of them. So yeah, I'll go Wolfpack. You want to try with your howl? Your howl.
Like, that sounded better. That was good.
I made him do it. If you guys missed the huddle last week, I asked him impromptu on the desk to howl, and he literally, like, barely barked. He was like, "Oh." I was like, that's a wounded. It's a
Wounded
wounded.
wolf. That was foreshadowing for the rest of the night.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that one on you.
Yeah, that's
Playing Dave Dorn, it was Emac's fault.
yeah. Sorry, I'll take that. I can take
Okay.
that blame. That's
Oh,
that's me.
we do have a couple of our West Coast teams in play
Friends.
this weekend. Both of them.
Could you imagine? Actually, never mind. I'm not even gonna
Yeah.
say this. Go ahead.
No? Okay. All right. I'll go with the one that's over here on the East Coast. Cal at Boston College. Because this is the last conference game that we'll touch on. Stanford is playing San Jose State, so that's a non-conference game. But I did you have on your bingo card Cal getting shut out by San Diego State last week? I sure didn't.
No, but you did. You did have it because you
I
brought
didn't
up
have
all
them getting
these
shut out.
facts and all these numbers of 10-0, home team ain't never losing, all these things. I'm like, come on, Taylor, that doesn't matter. And so just to peel back the curtain for y'all, we were at the Miami game, and then Taylor's going her house, I'm going to the hotel, and you text me at midnight saying it's 26-0. Oh my God. And I'm like, oh geez, because I couldn't get on the hotel. And I'm like, this is horrific. And I wake up and it's 36-0. They lose the game. Right when we give you respect, Cal, right when we start talking about your quarterback and how gritty your defense is and what a great job, and then you just throw it away. So thank you for embarrassing us. And you're lucky we're talking about you right now.
Yeah. No, okay, fair. But we do believe it is in there for Cal, and kind of like NC State, like anything that could go wrong did go wrong for Cal. They had multiple turnovers in the red zone. Like it was just the ultimate disaster. I didn't
Frustration.
think that they would be shut out. I thought maybe the L because of the way things trend that the home team had never lost in that series. But coming into this game, the one thing you're looking at here is Cal had to go cross country to Boston College for this game. That's tough. You can swing it whichever way you want. The reality is it's not an easy trip. How do they fare? I'm sure they're coming out a little bit earlier. Taking on a Boston College team that had a bye week, coming off a loss to Stanford. I anticipated it was pretty physical over the last week and a half. And Bill O'Brien means business. And I think somebody asked him this week, like, what's wrong with the offense? He's like, he genuinely was like, I don't know. I wish I could tell you. Like, if I could tell you, I would fix it. So there's some frustration there, but an opportunity for the Eagles to get back on track with Dylan Lonergan. These two quarterbacks in this matchup are actually young, talented dudes in the ACC that we've seen emerge. They've both just had a setback in their last games. So
Right.
it's respond time
Yeah.
for JKS for Cal and for Dylan Lonergan for Boston College.
It is. And you mentioned Lonergan. I mean, having the best passing attack in the ACC, in regards to yards per game. So he's slinging it around. Can you get back to that against this Cal team? And is it going to be, shot for shot? Are we going to see two young quarterbacks go off and, just push the ball downfield? That's what I would love to see. The total, though, is only 52.5. So I don't love that. I would love for this to be a little higher, and maybe it will be. Who knows? But, can you get these offenses back going? Coming off a shutout is just brutal. And then coming off a 20-point loss bye is even worse. So, I mean, these are two teams just in the dumps. Good thing you get to play each other. Somebody has to win and feel a little bit better. I think because it's at home and the travel, I'm going to go BC. I mean, they're favored by 5.5. Is that where you're going?
Yes.
Let's just hold hands and walk through this whole show together, Tay. That's just great. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, I'll go Eagles too. I think they've had a little bit more time. Don't love the turnaround for Cal. I do love their quarterback. Still young though. And maybe they saw something on film from San Diego State that Boston College is going to try to exploit. I don't know, but we'll see how
The red
everybody
zone, that's a good recipe. Good recipe for
one's
success, Boston College.
kind of up for grabs for me. And last but certainly not least, San Jose State at Stanford. Stanford's back at home after they were all the way out here. And they get their run game going again. This is the theme of the show is run game. Micah Ford, that's your key. That's your ticket to success. He's got to run the football. And San Jose State's only 1-2 on the season. I have faith in the Cardinal.
Do you? 3.5. 3.5's the number at home, which really means it's like a pick 'em. So you're feeling good with Stanford.
I'm going Stanford.
This is where I put my sword and draw the line. Give me San Jose State.
Wow.
What's
really?
their logo? I don't even know what their logo is.
It's like a sun or
Trojan?
Spartan.
Trojan. Give me the Spartans. They're the Spartans. Give me the Spartans. I'm rolling with them.
They are the
We got to have you back on, Tay, because this was kind of boring week. I don't like that this is the curtain call. I want a
Whenever
bigger
you
week.
call me no matter where you are, no matter how far.
Perfect. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. But I do want to thank you
Great
so
call.
much. I didn't tell you I was doing that. Huge thank you to you for filling in for my girl KG. You were amazing. I did not want to just sit here and stare at a computer screen for a month. And you made that much better than me just having to do that. So thank you for filling in. It's been a great season so far, and I can't thank you enough for everything you did for us.
An honor to be here always. And if I can moonlight as KG anytime or with both of you, I absolutely will.
But yeah, maybe we need to do a KG and Tay show. That's what we need to do. I'll take
like
a
I will,
break.
yeah, I'll join anytime. You're outnumbered at home by women.
I
You
know.
might as well
I'm
on your
used to it.
show.
I'm used to it. I'm
You know
used
what
to
I
it.
mean?
But again,
Wait, isn't
huge shout
Amelia
out to you.
sleeping?
She's knocked out. She's knocked out. She listens. She's a good listener. She's a good listener. So anyway, appreciate you guys tuning in. Mitchie's doing his thing. He listened to. Thank you guys always for your support. These episodes have been awesome. This football season has been a ton of fun. I think that's because we have some teams doing their thing. And we're going to continue to hope for that, and we'll talk about it. But appreciate you guys. Go subscribe. Jump on this channel with us. Drop some comments about this week. And again, I think there's some impact, but it's just not as sexy as it usually is. But until next time, we'll see y'all.
Peace.